Welcome back, everyone. So I hope you enjoy break. And now we move to the next panel discussion in the eye of regional journalists. So may I invite all speaker, moderator, and commentator on the stage, please? So this panel is organized by MAEW, and it is moderated by Kun Kamol Sukin from the GreenNews. So welcome, Kun Kamol.
ทดสอบหนึ่งครับ
ขอโทษครับไม่ทราบธรรมเนียมแถวนี้ครับยินดีต้อนรับทุกท่านเข้าสู่เซสชั่นรองสุดท้ายของงานแมวนะครับเท่าที่ดูจากลำดับแล้วเนี่ยก็คือหลังจากนี้จะเป็นเวทีปิดใช่ไหมครับก็เพิ่งเห็นเหมือนกันครับว่าเพิ่งสังเกตว่าพวกเราเป็นเวทีรองสุดท้ายแล้วก็เป็นเวทีที่พูดในเนื้อหาที่อาจจะแตกต่างจากเวทีก่อนหน้านี้เกือบทั้งหมดก็คือว่าเป็นเวทีที่ตั้งใจจะคุยเรื่องคนทำงานสื่อที่เข้ามาเกี่ยวกับทุกประเด็นไม่ว่าจะเป็นประเด็นที่ดินพลังงานต่างๆนะครับและก็คนที่จะขึ้นมาร่วมเวทีผมวันนี้เนี่ยก็จะเป็นคนทำงานสื่อทั้งหมดนะครับตั้งใจว่าจะเป็น4ท่านก็เดี๋ยวขอเชิญวิทยากรขึ้นมาด้านบนเลยครับหาที่นั่งก่อนนะครับแล้วเดี๋ยวจะแนะนำ
And then I can introduce all of you.
เชิญครับเริ่มจากท่านแรกนะครับหลายคนดูหน้าดูตาแนะนำตัวเองก่อนนะครับ
So the first one would be
จะไหนเชิญนะสวัสดีครับทุกท่านครับผมชื่อเยี่ยมยุทธสุทธิชัยครับ
เยี่ยมยุทธสุทธิชัย from Prachatai English and I have been working on the cross-border issues as well as the Mekong sub-regional crimes. Now I am actually covering the news on the transnational call centers. My name is Phetsiam Promngoy from Radio Free Asia, and I usually cover news about Laos PRD.
ครับอันนี้ก็เป็น2 speaker
Thank you very much. We have our 2 speakers, and we also have 2 news journalists, which they will visit. They will arrive later. And the last person that I would like to introduce is our photojournalist, Kun Suthep Kritsanavarin, which will also join us later, and also Chaumeau from Echo du Monde, France. We will have our informal discussion today in order to facilitate the exchange. What do people think? I mean, what do journalists think about the Mekong Asian Environmental Week, and what has been happening in the regions during the major trends and transition. And the organizer also would like to invite you to talk about the politicization of the power, like cat chasing mice. Also, there are the people who are hunted and people who are hunted, and people who are hunter and the people who are hunted. So we talk about the powers of cat and mice, of course, and the people that maybe okay. Talk about people who may be in this trend, who are the cats, who are the mice, or would you think that you are the mice, but you can also play cat from time to time and in certain circumstances. So I think this is our common agendas, and from the past, we try to talk about these issues about the power relation and also talk in the different perspective from the climate change, the land, the environmental, and also the energy sectors, and what do journalists usually think about the this power relationship. So you think you think that people would think differently about the power relationship between the powerful and the powerless. What do you think about this power relationship in different perspectives, land right, environment, and energies, and etc.? I think that we can have a discussion from our three panelists. One of them is Kun Yiamyut from Yiamyut Sutthichaya from Prachatai, Kun Phetsiam Promngoy from Radio Free Asia, and Christine Chaumeau from Echo du Monde, and Suthep Kritsanavarin, who are our photojournalists. Phetsiam has been working covering Lao PRD, and Yiamyut Sutthichaya is working for Prachatai English, and one of his cross-border experience is the transnational call centers.
Only one thing that we will share to the audience here is perspective from people who are running a newspaper like you, and all of us are media people. So just share our perspective toward the thing. Only one thing, the region is now on the big change, and then the MAEW this year trying to looking into this change as like a game of cat and mouse. One they have one who chased and another one who is chased. So my question is that what do we think? I mean, do we agree with that first? Yes or no? And second, how? So, I give you a minute to think about it. I will begin with our Thai speakers. ขอเริ่มที่มุมมองจากประเทศสื่อในประเทศไทยก่อนเป็นอย่างแรกนะครับซึ่ง
Yiamyut, since you are working a lot with the news in like board game like cat and mouse, what do you think about this perspective, the powerful and the powerless? Kun Yiamyut is working with Prachatai. In short, I think like I agree with this analogies of power relationship, talking about the politicizing the regional or sub-regional political context, because people will face different consequences from extraterritorial activities, and there are external forces that may like bring consequences regionally. And I would like to share my news, the coverage of like rescuing Thai people who have been working as a call center staff in Cambodia. And of course during the COVID, and different countries in ASEAN have closed their borders, and usually is normal. And China, which is one of the powerful forces in the regions, also have extreme border control measure. For example, the total close of border, therefore the economic shrink. The lockdown and border closures actually change the landscape of the economic and mode of production. Therefore, the economic shrink, and people in the region who usually who are the mouse, the people in the regions who are the mice, who have been negatively affected or hunted by the government's policy. Once they face with the economic shrinkage, they have to find new channel for an informal economy. For example, people smuggling for as call centers, and people were promised that they will get like free boarding, lodging, and also lucrative remuneration and payment. So this is the changes of landscape after the COVID. Our second panelist, Kun Phet is working at Radio Free Asia covering news in Laos. But he based in Thailand, right? And Kun Phet, what do you think about the analogies of the change in these sub-regions of cat and mouse? Yes, I totally agree. I think that the small media like us have helped highlighting the different development projects or mega projects in the regions. Usually the mainstream media may not follow the trend because they have been under the pressure from the corporation as well as the state. However, the small media, like small agencies like us, we have to work dedicatedly to highlight the different angles in the close or like narrowing landscape, because these are the projects that will have a long-lasting impact on the regions. So therefore, a small media like us have to work harder. So, how do you say small media like us? So what are the pros and cons of being small media like us? I think we should have more non-mainstream media. We are free from the control of the corporation. We are free from like capitalists and also the government. And so you are not the private sector media. Maybe you have to introduce your agency a bit. Well, long story short, who are the funder? Yes, it has been funded by the U.S. government from the USA. So, well, Radio Free Asia, not many people may know you, and they may wonder like how can you run a media agency without the funding? So okay, you have been funded from the USA. So what do you think about the power relationship of cat and mouse? So next, I would like to shift the perspective externally for Kun Christine Chaumeau. Kun Christine is from Echo du Monde, so from France.
Translators for the last 3 days.
You need to put it too. I will speak in Thai.
Okay, yeah. But I'd like to really thank the translator for the last 3 days' work. It's been fantastic for us to follow these sessions. Thank you very much for having me here. So to introduce myself, I was sent here by Echo du Mekong, which is a publication that is published by an NGO in France. It's called Terre Solidaire. So we are publishing stories from around the world and to highlight the work of the community and of the partners that are supported by Terre Solidaire, a French NGO, and to highlight also the main struggles and the main power structure in different parts of the world. So I'm here to cover this session, and also I'm going up to Udon Thani to look at the impact of the dams. So my stories will be published in the December edition, and it will be sent to our readerships, which are subscribers, and to just a little bit put on what you said about non-mainstream media. I think it's something we can discuss further in our panel, because I think it's very interesting to see and to show to you how the mainstream, the media crisis also has an impact on what we can be publishing or not. Just to answer your question about cat and mouse, obviously I think we are in this kind of game, but from afar, from the international media perspective, the cat and mouse in the region, in the Mekong region, is also the cat and mouse between China, which is the major power here, and we have been seeing the impact of China on Southeast Asia, and that's what is the main focus of international media, rather than what we have been talking here for the last 3 days about what's the impact of actual development projects in the Mekong region and on Mekong community. So yeah, that's what I can say.
Yeah, well, you can hold it. That is interesting. ขอบคุณมากครับโทษทีเปลี่ยนภาษาไม่ได้ ครับน่าสนใจมากครับสิ่งที่คุณชื่อ
Oh, thank you very much for your interesting perspective. So when international media start looking into the issue that we have been talking during the past 2 or 3 days, they will look about the kind of like the mice, not really like mice. You have to see like this region is a mice through the eye of China's. So in terms of the predatory relationship, so in international media will try to talk about these regions in terms of the predatory relationship with China's before, like like Thai, Laos, ASEAN, and the Mekong sub-regions through the lens or the perspective of Sino-centric. Because like internationally, you would just think about the influence of China, and I think this is quite an interesting perspective because people usually talk about equalities, inequalities in the sub-regions. But China also plays significant roles in many of our issue and our local perspective. So the roles of the non-mainstream media. So you said like how can non-mainstream media also offer different perspective in this cat and mouse game?
Yeah, I think I don't know what the landscape. I'm not so familiar. Of the landscape of the Thai media right now, but just to brief a little bit about the landscape broadly, I think it's a global trend. There has been a shift, a major shift in the print. I mean, let's say in the print media, because that's where I come from, and we are now facing lots of competition, and so the mainstream media tends to be going for rapid, quickly made news. I'm not talking about the major powerhouses like the New York Times or the Guardian or those really well-established, well-funded newspaper worldwide. But I'm talking about more, smaller newspaper. Even Le Monde in France, which is a major daily newspaper, had to struggle a little bit before reaching a point of benefits. But it requires lots of reduction of staff for quite a while. So in terms of taking the time to report, it has an impact. So the decision in the newsroom is made about which story we prioritize, which story are less time-consuming, the less costly to make also. So going away, going somewhere or other way, maybe, which is good also in terms of climate change and having a less impact on reporting. It's good to think of, having someone on the ground providing information, local journalists providing information to the headquarters. So back in Europe. But briefly, just to be brief, we have seen also the web has been an opportunity to set up smaller organizations. And those organizations are very fragile in terms of economic situation, but they rely on the readership, they rely on the subscription. And we have seen in France an emergence of new website dedicated to news reporting on environmental issues, on also the struggle of the communities. Not similar to you, but pretty much can be the same. So this is kind of a very optimistic scene, even though it really depends on who read them and who support them financially. So it really depends on how the social society, the readers are ready to pay, and it's a challenge. I don't know how is it here.
Yeah, interesting. Maybe you ก็คิดว่าเอาอีกแล้วคำถามก็คือคุณพิเศษ
So, Kun Christine has looked at the perspectives of the media. For Radio Free Asia, I think you also cover many countries, even though the focus is on Laos. But can you share about how, when you do the regional news, what are your priorities? Because Kun Christine did say that whatever the news, the headlines, but there are also you need to also different levels of reporting. What about this cat and mouse game for RFA? And we pay attention to the serious problems, but we're not really afraid of the dark power, for RFA. But we get a lot of protests or opposition whenever we come out with disclosure or reporting, and so it's quite hard to do. And for Radio Free Asia, the main source of news, they were also definitely being resisted or be opposed by the government as well as the large capitals. And so you've got the position on. I'm not sure if people know the RFA that much, but they do reporting from the ground quite consistently and from various perspectives too. So I mean, we can discuss about whether they have done a good enough thing in reporting from the ground. Now let's get back to Prachatai in Thailand. But before we proceed, let's receive the new the last speaker. Can you explain yourself? He's the only one here who's a photographer. So when we've been talking about the cat and mouse games in this region, Kun Suthep, he does the reporting through photographs in the ASEAN region and also the Mekong. So what we are trying to look at the political aspect of the cat and mouse game. So I mean, are you ready to? Can I listen first? Okay. Like maybe. So let's hear first from Yiamyut. The question that we're asking about. How much weight Prachatai is giving to the news in relation to the cat and mouse game, and do you think that is sufficient? So Prachatai is based in Bangkok, and we are a small organization, and we call ourselves an alternative news source. And in Thailand, alternative news, it can be big or small, but the position that our position is not really responding to mainstream readers, because Kun Kamol, you're with GreenNews too, so we are basically non-mainstream, and this is where we try to focus. So for Prachatai, apart from trying to look at the human rights perspective of the happenings, but also we pay attention to movements of civil society and small people, marginalized people, and who are basically excluded from the main social mainstream activity. So but of course, the mainstream media do not pay attention that much on these groups of people because they have little space in the mainstream. So that's why Prachatai is focusing on some of the issues are very important issues like infrastructure issues, and we cannot. But we of course cannot invest that much on picking up or going for the news. So what's the other issue? Okay, how are you satisfied at the level of what you're doing? And personally too, small news agency also has the advantages and disadvantages. And if we are not afraid of retaliation or legal retaliation, we do have more space in reporting. But of course, there's a disadvantage. Being a small agency, we probably will not be able to access the large source of information. For example, on the dam construction in Laos, it's difficult to get the information from the authorities on both sides of the country, both sides of the border. So you mean you're being kind of disregarded or hated by both sides, right? Well, not that really, because if we try to of course, it depends on our stance. If we're trying to approach them as an opponent, and then of course we're not going to get much information. So, but we try to be neutral. We try to say that we are giving the information, providing information from both sides, and some of them are actually. Some of them are actually happy to give the information because no one has approached them for information. So, so these are some big challenges for the smaller news agency. But at the same time, the people on the ground are suffering from various problems. And you can see that small media agencies also are not really living well, and they always have to struggle to in terms of the funding as well as the content space. And some mainstream media is just trying to steal the news or to trying to grab the news from Prachatai and they were able to disseminate to a wider audience and basically making money from that too. So there are some follow-up questions like with this situation, even though you're trying to report on the news, but with the conditions or with the COVID situation, what do you have to face? These are basically some details of the work of all profession. But we will come back to it. Now we're going to hear from Kun Suthep. Can you introduce yourself? So I told the audience that you are telling the Mekong story through photographs. So, do you agree that there are changes in terms of the game of cat and mouse? So do you agree or not, or whatever you want to say? I mostly agree with what is being said, and I know that media work at the regional and the international level has changed quite a lot because of the social media, and for professional journalists, of course, they face these challenges. Even mainstream or large news agencies also face the need to adjust themselves, and 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 earlier there were already some the difficulties because if you get an assignment, so you had to wait for assignments, so but if there are fewer that there will be an impact on us. So Kun Suthep actually mentioned another issue about being a lot of now. So we felt that a number of professional journalists have kind of left the scene, right? There have been people who are in the mainstream media who had been following on the issues on the Mekong, and they have kind of disappeared. But there are reports coming out. So according to the situation, but many reporters who are interested in this cat and mouse game in this region have kind of disappeared or left, and then there are more independent reporters, because maybe that's where if you are a professional journalist and you can choose to become more independent. But no one can tell whether we can survive that, because this is the way that the professional journalists have responded to the change in the situation. So apart from trying to do the work, but they also have to try to relate by various means to the readers. So now we get a kind of a bigger picture about what we are dealing with. There another question that we would like to hear from. What do you see as the challenges that you are facing? And we just explain briefly, because we would like to have a kind of conversation on this. So what do you see as your challenges and limitations for your media work? Are there more challenges now or less? And maybe from Echo du Monde and Prachatai and Radio Free Asia, what are your constraints and challenges? I don't know, or Kun Suthep can continue on this. If you're talking about constraints, I think for me, there are good things and bad things, like advantages and disadvantages about there are more choices for us, because if you become a freelance and independent journalist, then you will need to find channels to be able to make the reporting and presentation, but without having to keep within the space that's assigned to you by the editorial board and so on. But now, if we use social media or YouTube or so on, at certain level, you can be yourself, you can be independent, you can establish your own style, and you can actually set up your own news channel. So, but of course there is the costs, and then the styles also become differ. So we need to kind of maintain the balance between survival and also to be able to do your work. So yeah, you need to balance about your own survival and what you want to do. Yiamyut. Yeah. So constraints and challenges you're facing currently. I agree with Kun Suthep that there are good things and bad things, but with the COVID situation, it's a condition that makes you. There are the varieties of issues that we can raise with society. So we have more issues, but the constraints is that Prachatai, we are basically a civil society organization, and of course there is constraints in terms of funding, and some because there are also conditions from donor agencies that we have to go by. So, and there are during the COVID situation, there are other themes in terms of some projects kind of orientation, but there is not much problems in terms of doing our work, but also we have more competitors. This is one of the challenges, and because anybody can become a media person, and the conditions is kind of reduced, and because the funding is reduced, and many of the media work is done online, so you don't need to actually to travel about, and but more competitors. One way it's a disadvantage, but also it is also an advantage for society, where more people participating in raising issues in a society that could attract the mainstream media to go further. But these challenges are not actually too much challenging for us, because it is a challenge that keeps you on your feet, and also you have to keep thinking on your toes, and to try to adjust and try to move forward. So what are your constraints and challenges for RFA? I think it's very challenging, because we have been blocked by many governments, and so we've got it's very difficult to try to get to the stories and also to report on it, and to be as much detailed as possible, and to try to be able to disseminate as widely as possible. And we are basically being suppressed and being challenged by the power of the state. I think 100% or even 1,000%, in order to get the stories, in order to get any details in order to conduct interviews or to visit the sites on the field, we always opposed and every time. So, but all our journalists are trying as much as we can. We are basically the mice, but the mice are in the margin are actually supporting us and trying to give us the details and trying to report to us. So, which is a very good thing. And so we are trying to get at the story and trying to disseminate the story as much as we can, so that they don't feel that they are being neglected. So basically, like the mouse, the media mouse is actually helping the field mouse, field mice. So for like Prachatai, how are you going to do this if you're blocked? You cannot interview anybody, and you cannot get any information from the government, from the It is very difficult, right? What RFA is telling us. So what did you do actually? For us, it's basically confidential. It's complicated. I cannot tell you, but there's also complexities involved. But we always base our reporting on the facts. So you mean that you really have to try to fit yourself into the situation. And whereas other media like Prachatai may not have faced that kind of situation, right? So say if the Prime Minister's office comes out to announce that the Prachatai is banned from the government house or something like that, and I don't think you have faced that. But of course, this is a real challenge. That actually we didn't really look at RFA as basically being limited by their situation this much. So let's hear from Kun Christine and the same story about the challenges.
And media worker like you.
Okay, I think I agree with all what was said earlier. I mean, there are challenges, but there are also opportunities. And in fact, one of the things that I would like to highlight is that news is something that is costly. And if nobody is paying for the news, and especially because now the social media, we have the impression of circulation of news is free. So, but in fact, journalist is something that requires time, work, and so it's a job. So it's require money, and it's something that the audience of the readership do not always understand. I don't know. We can share about that. I don't know how Prachatai, if you have subscribers, or how in the photojournalism work in Thailand it's applied. So, for example, for Echo du Monde, it's again it's supported by an organization, but it depends on the subscribers' money. So if we don't have subscribers, we cannot work. And that's a real key issue in the media situation right now. And as I just would like to highlight also another of the challenges we are facing, and we talked about it yesterday at the Bangkok Art Cultural Center about the development of SLAP, of lawsuits against journalists. And it's something that came about in the United States at the middle of the 80s, at the end of 2000, I would say, and it's developed worldwide, and it's really difficult for you here in Thailand, but also it's a challenge in the Western world because the journalists have to, or the whistleblower or activists, they are faced with lawsuits that are very, very costly from stakeholders of powerful company or from government offices, and it's a really difficult situation to fight against those kind of lawsuits. I'd like to hear more about you in the Thai context, how you do and when you are faced with those kind of situation.
ขอบคุณครับคุณคริสตินครับก็รอบนี้เนี่ยผมคิดว่าเราให้ทุกคนแนะนำตัวเองแนะนำความเห็นกว้างๆแนะนำสถานการณ์ว่า
In this round, we are trying to see what kind of challenges that have been faced by the different media outlets. But before, in fact, I don't want to be the one that pose questions. So, if the audience has any questions, maybe we can allow now 2-3 questions or opinions before we come back to the speakers. We have about 20 minutes left. So the audience, anybody wants to raise questions or give opinions? Or do you not understand us at all because we are just basically talking among ourselves? Yes, please go ahead. I think so. คุณเปรมฤดี actually
ก็เรียกว่าอะไรไม่ได้อยู่ภายใต้ความกดดันหรือว่า
been reporting on Laos all this time. But if we see from us outsider, we know that Laos is undergoing big changes, and because right now it's the big thing, a big project is the rapid rail link. So the Lao people now who used to have to spend 3 days to get to the border, but then now they can just do it in a few hours with the fund and from China, and of course they've gone into debt for. But how does this change affect the Lao people? And what are your concerns? I'm quite concerned for the Lao people, the Lao villagers, because all the policies and the budgets and they cannot actually access anything, even though there are some many mechanisms being implemented, but there is a gap between government officials and the people in the villages. Even any support, any services, very few of these actually get to the field. And people have tried make changes in the structure, but we know that it has to be gradual, because it has been like this for a long time, and there's a big gap between the older generations and the younger generations. But since their social media happens, we can see there are younger Laotians who are trying to do more to create change or to push for change in Lao society. Yeah, but it's interesting how the younger generation is actually trying to make changes. And in the case of Thailand, many of them are now in jail for their activities. But do you have anything else to add? Yeah, we can see more movements by the younger generation, but it's slow. But there are sometimes they move too much, and they created the impact on government agencies, and what they get is really serious charges, but it's not being reported at all because the media is under the government control. So we will never see any younger generation having showing up on social media, because they can. They are basically limited in how much they can to use the social media for this purpose. Yiamyut, what I worked on the call center scam in Cambodia. It really shows the cat and mouse thing. And actually, it's quite a complex situation. The bigger cat trying to chase the smaller cats, and then we don't know who are the mice. And so, briefly, at the end of 2020, I was I received the report of the request for assistance because they were actually lured into working in Sihanoukville and was forced to work in a scam situation, and without basically being forced to work, and they were penalized if they could not make the targets, and if they want to leave, then they have to pay hundreds of thousands of baht. And I took a long time for me to try to get the details, because the source is actually are the victims in Cambodia, and we have to take care of their security too. So once they were able to get out, and it's basically but of course there are more news about the scams situation that has really spread to the Thai people as well. You get calls from of people pretending to be so and so, and then we found that these scammers, the ones who are the Chinese nationals who set up a company where the law against this type of crimes is weak, and so once they get a kind of chased or get targeted by the authority, they will move elsewhere. So there were people also in Myanmar as well. So during the lockdown situation, they were able to get the victims in Laos, in Thailand, and also later on in Malaysia. When Cambodian government is becoming more strict, they move their base to Laos and to Myanmar. But the victims are still the Thais, and so you can see that one big cat is actually threatening the smaller cats, so that the smaller cats has to try to find a new place for them to try to chase the mice. And the Thai victims, because during the COVID situation, people were looking for jobs, so they get easily defrauded and so we hear from Cambodia side and related to the Thai victims too. So Kun Suthep, what about Myanmar? Can you tell us anything about Myanmar in terms of the news? I have to say that I haven't been back to Myanmar after the COVID situation. So when the coup happened, I haven't been back either. So actually, when there was a heavy fighting in Kaya, and I talked to the friends to see about going in there to take some kind of news, and but had to could not get back because of the COVID situation. In the end, the coordination was too slow. So finally, people are more afraid of the security, so I couldn't get back in. But if you ask, what about if you talk about the news coming from the media personnel, actually we don't have even no professional journalists, even international, the international or local. They all had to leave because of they've been kind of suppressed by the Myanmar, the junta. So they could not stay. So what we hear from Myanmar now is through social media sent by the people, but along the basically along the border, and because now the more Myanmar people have moved out closer to the Thai border. So basically the mainstream media now many of them could not continue their work, so they had to leave the country. Kun Christine, you say that for people like us may not be included in the mainstream media, but we are the groups that are trying to give importance to the changes that are happening in the cat and mouse game. So let me hear from Kun Christine's view, like in France, in your own experience in your media work. What are the things, your experiences that you would like to share about the situations like the way we heard from Laos, from Thailand, and from about Myanmar? Do you want to share any experience with us in the same manner?
So briefly, yes, that's very interesting and worrying, and it's also highlights how the news is fragile. It's very fragile thing because it's hard to get, and it's because of political situation or because of economical situation. To answer directly your question, I've been covering Southeast Asia for more than 20 years now. I used to live in Cambodia between 95 and 98. At the time I was working for a newspaper called Phnom Penh Post. It still exists, but it's quite different from what it used to be. And just to reflect on those 20 years, I have to say that the cat and mouse game has been going on for quite a long time, and it's very important that you are here to continue in this cat and mouse struggle game. It's not a game, it's something that affects directly the life of you. Especially we heard the people from Cambodia, how they are affected directly by land grabbing. In the early 2000s, we were covering already the land grabbing situation, and it has developed since then really rapidly. So I like just to end. I like sometimes that we change the tale, and we have the elephant and the ant story. I don't know if you know the elephant and the ant story. So the ant is in the elephant trunk, and it's biting the elephant trunk, and the trunk is the elephant. Is very, very angry and not happy about it. And so the ant is asking him, "Okay, if you want, I stop, but be kind with me." And so the ant, the elephant says sorry to the ant, and the ant is going out of the trunk. So that's what I wish for the Mekong people, and for the fact that they can have the elephant say sorry and provide them with a better situation. Thank you.
ขอบคุณครับคุณคริสตินเปรียบเทียบได้เห็นภาพมากนะฮะในบริบทของฝรั่งเศสก็คือเรื่องของบ้านเราน่าจะเป็นหลายสิ่ง
Thank you for your the story of the elephants and the ants, and I think we have also a story something like the lion and the mouse, similar, but so it doesn't mean that the cat has to be chasing the mice all the time, because if the mice, maybe the mice will be able to get together and do something to trick the cat. So it is, Kun Christine story shows that it's not a one-way game. So it can, the situation can, we can turn it around too. And I think that's what we hope for us, all people sitting here. And we have less than 10 minutes left. Actually, time is up already. Sorry, I saw the wrong time. But our time is up. So I think we can continue our exchange outside. And I believe that many people would like to talk about this further. So I'm sorry, but we have to close this session now. So thank you very much, Kun Suthep, Kun Yiamyut, Kun Christine, and Kun Phet.
Thank you very much to Moderator and all the panelists. So